Right, Adam, thanks for joining us here at Raventore, the world's best crag. Or something like that.
It actually looks and is better than I remember.
Is it bigger or smaller than you remember it being?
To be honest, on a good day when all the crag look is dry, it looks way better.
And this must feel familiar to you, like for some of your home crags, some of the home limestone with all the like eliminates, there's all the link ups, there's...
Yes. I would say the best crags at my home crag probably has better rock in terms of like Raventore doesn't look good, it's roadside, and it is Jossy.
Yes!
Some of our crags are not Jossy actually. But that's what I want to say, like Malum and Kilsey for me are like some of the world's best clips.
Yep.
Like, I think foreigners might complain they are polished.
Yeah.
But it's even like, you know, it's the spice that makes them even better.
So today, Adam, we're going to run through a bit about past, present, a bit onto future, but I thought we'd kick things off with, I think it's back in 2006. I remember seeing your name for the first time because at the age of 13, you climbed your first 9A, which is outrageous and was completely outrageous back at the time. It's still be outrageous.
Normal now.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's almost become more normalized, but back then it was absolutely futuristic. But did you at that time, Dave, have any idea of what the next kind of 20 years would look like for you?
Yes, and it's pretty much how it turned out to be. Yeah.
And was there a point maybe where you realized, so climbing is this hobby, but that you realized that it was something more? What was that point exactly?
I think I'm weird, and I was like very weird as a kid. So I think when I was 8, I just thought, okay, climbing is like the most cool thing I know. I was completely hooked, and I wouldn't maybe probably say it out loud, but I was pretty sure I would be a professional climber, and I was pretty sure I would climb a 9B one day or harder. Interestingly, only like last year I realized that I had these like little fluffy toys. One was a dog and the other one was a little pig, and they were climbing together. And I had like a guidebook for our apartment where like, so I reckoned like a dog is like 170 centimeters, so I would like measure, and like, so the hardest routes were actually like from underneath the table or on the rooftop. And so I would make up these routes, writing into this guidebook, even including the meters. So like if it was, 10 times the size of the dog, it was like 10-meter route. And only like a couple of weeks ago, I finally found this guidebook, and I realized the hardest route which the dog climbed is a 9C.
Adam, it's so uncool. It's cool. And I guess, I mean, at the time as well, going back to 2006, your climbing career has spanned like all mediums really.
Yep.
You've obviously comp climbed, you've bouldered, you've sport climbed. I mean, for me, one of the defining moments of your climbing career, this is when you transcended to some sort of demigod status, was when you climbed the Dawn Wall.
Dawn Wall has some incredible pitches and some really bad pitches, like including the Crux 2 pitches, they are really bad.
Wow, there you go.
Like there is nothing fun about climbing them. Like if they were at a sport crag, nobody would ever bother to climb them. It's just nothing but pain. Hubble is way better route than the Crux pitch of the Dawn Wall.
This is great. I'm glad to hear that.
And also like, it's very rare that I climb a certain route, that I say that certain like pitch or route is ugly.
I think as well, even coming from the UK, I think like there is beauty from routes that are quite ugly as well. When you get in amongst the climbing.
Yes.
I've often said there's almost nothing as a bad route, but then I have climbed some pretty bad routes.
But interestingly, the routes that I consider to be like really bad could often be even popular.
Yeah.
And there is also like, okay, when it's real choss, then some people really enjoy climbing in a choss. Like I think many years ago I had the debate with David Lama, and he was really insisting like climbing on a choss is fun. And I think I tend to agree more than I used to think.
It feels to me, I think you've said this in a video in yesteryear, which was, I just want to climb everything. And can you tell us a bit more about that? Because your interest in climbing really spans all disciplines.
More or less like since the beginning. I think it has something to do that I was born into a family of climbers, and since the early childhood I was like told about the stories of climbing, but also maybe more alpinism. Like my parents used to climb in the mountains as well, used to climb in the High Tatras, which is like the Slovakian part of Czechoslovakia back then. And I was inspired by these stories. So for me, like all of this was climbing. And even though like when I was a really little kid, I was just sport climbing and climbing in the gym and going into the competitions, I was pretty sure like, that's interesting. I want to try it out one day.
Would you say you have a favorite discipline as well of all?
Yeah, it's sport climbing for sure. I mean, doing multi-pitches every single day sucks after a while.
Yeah.
You just want to climb more.
Yeah,
and like hike less and so sport climbing is like what I end up doing the most, but like spicing it up with a bit more boulder and with some multi-pitches from time to time is very cool.
I mean, for me, at a substantially lower level, I love all the different disciplines of climbing, because each one just has a different thing that it brings, like bouldering, like, well, shorter sport routes compared to long and multi-pitch routes. It's like different food groups, isn't it?
Yeah.
Each are nourishing in different ways.
Yes, and I think it's the key for me to never really lose the motivation. And like I think I only lose the motivation when I do the very same thing for a longer period of time, which I think only happened for me when I was preparing for some important competitions.
We'll come on to those important competitions in a bit. In the here and now, it feels like in climbing at the moment there is this real drive, in standards, in bouldering in particular. You know, Font 9A has gone from being, them being one to being all of a sudden a whole bunch of them. And not just that, but people putting them up, people repeating them, and yourself included within that. Now, in spite of this drive in standards in bouldering, there's a route that you put up maybe 8 years ago now that's yet to receive a second ascent, and silence must be like it's the biggest prize in sport climbing, and yet despite, you know, Stefano's efforts, for instance, it's not received a repeat. And do you want to talk a bit about that, like why that is, and maybe the trends of bouldering being the sort of focus right now, and any thoughts on that?
So I think the focus on bouldering will actually eventually help for people to repeat silence, because it's essentially a very bouldery route with like a bit of a spice to add, as you need to climb quite a lot of easier climbing before.
How easy are we talking, Adam? When we're talking easy, are we talking like 6A plus here? Because
it's an 8B. It's an 8B route, which eventually, like if you are like good lead climber and you know how to knee bar, almost doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
If you're a boulderer, it makes a big difference. So
yeah,
it's
you've got to get to that.
And on the top of that, like the crux itself is a very special style, which for sure makes it maybe less appealing for somebody and maybe more appealing for somebody else.
Like more appealing for Pete Whitaker, less appealing for everyone else.
But it's not a crack climb at the same time. It's like just a small part of.
And again, going back onto your 13-year-old self, but what do you think you'd have thought when if imagine your 13-year-old self stood underneath silence looking up at that, what would you have thought at the time? Because you've developed a lot as a climber, and this was going to be one of my questions later on, but I'll ask it now. And I've got to ask this quite sensitively because it could come across as insulting, but you're not old, but neither are you 13 or 23 anymore. You're older. Now, so I guess like how would your 13-year-old self have felt, but then also knowing what you know now, all the experience you can draw on, how would you feel approaching big routes in the present?
I don't think I would feel that different. Like, even with the eyes of 13-year-old, I would think like, this is probably possible.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think even if I tried the moves back then, I would think like, I wouldn't really find the sequence, but judging like by touching the holds, I think I would think like, this will go one day.
And in the here and now, what is the benefit of being that bit older, that bit more experienced? I'm focusing on the positives here because basically, as someone, I'm older than you, and I don't want to hear the negatives about being older.
So I think I haven't done that many things like too wrong. Maybe some of the details are not even that interesting. Like, if I can turn back the time, I would like use slightly bigger climbing shoes, and I would like focus more on like free finger drag.
If you had one regret in life, is it then that you didn't do more three finger drag?
I would suck less on pockets. But I think my approach to climbing itself hasn't really changed that much, and for that I'm grateful. And I think I'm grateful for like, you know, experiencing the climbing the way I did in the times that I did.
Yeah.
You know, being born 15 years ago and like just entering like the World Cups nowadays, I would not really have the possibility to like live the climbing life the way I did. Yeah. So to compete and climb on the rock and climb on the multi-pitches all at the same time, because now it's impossible. Like, if you want to do well on the comps, you just have to focus on them.
Yeah, climbing has become much more specialist in that regard, hasn't it?
Which is not surprising, but I almost feel sorry for all the comp climbers because they kind of have to choose. I guess. And like, so I think if I was like a 15-year-old now, I would more likely just do the rock climbing. But on the other hand, you know, the comp climbing experiences were interesting, and I'm grateful for them.
I enjoy watching comps, but then at the same time, I really enjoy the process of people retiring from comps and going on to greatness. It was Shauna Coxey, for instance, you know, since her retirement from competition, has just gone out there and been tearing up
Pretty
problems
impressive
on rock. And that's a unique thing in climbing, isn't it? Is that your career in competitions is just one aspect of your career, and you can go on to climb.
Yes, and right now I'm in a difficult, like, let's say, life decisions. Like, should I keep on competing and like sacrifice some things that I would maybe never do on the rock? Because then when I retire later on, I will not be physically capable of doing them anymore.
So on the note of competing, let's talk about, I mean, the big competition in the form of the Olympics. Obviously, I think that's something that has mixed emotions for you. Do you want to talk a bit about that, reflections from maybe a year on?
It's incredibly painful. Like, the whole Olympic thing for me is like, it made my life so much more complicated. And like, I knew it since 2016 when, you know, the Tokyo format was announced. So I think without the Olympics, I would quit competition climbing a few years ago.
I mean, it's such a big stage. I know, again, Shauna describing it, you know, she is no stranger to IFSC World Cups. But the Olympics is on like this other level in terms of the magnitude, the enormity
and I think
of it.
it's if you are my generation and you are like waiting the whole competition career for the Olympics to finally come, the pressure that your experience is like very different to when you are 16 and you feel like you have 4 more shots for the Olympics.
And obviously,
whereas
as well,
like if you feel like this is your last chance.
And I guess I was going to say, so the way in which as well the formats evolved from the combined including speed to combined without, and then LA in 2028 is going to be individual disciplines. So I guess it's an awkward question to ask on camera.
It's kind of getting better as the format is like getting more to what I prefer. At the same time, I know like with every year it's getting exponentially harder for me to compete with the young guns, and it's kind of like imagining that if the disciplines were separated, I would get maybe 2 medals from the previous 2 games.
Yeah,
it's very
the frustration at the way things are. But any thoughts on LA or just decisions yet to be made?
It's even more complicated since the Czech Climbing Federation got the World Championships organization for 2027. So it's almost more I'm in a situation I just can't say I quit.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
So the other question is like how much all in I want to go. And that's a decision to be made.
I mean, I know, Adam, that, you know, it's been disappointing. I think in a positive way, I mean, the world, the climbing world wants to see you do well at these things. And I hope that doesn't reflect in pressure. It's more just, and this maybe speaks something about your character here as well, because I think it's just so obvious to the people who are watching this, the people who've seen you in any video you've ever made, is you just absolutely love it. And seeing you here at the crag today, getting to the crag, we shook hands, hi. You basically ran up to the crag and started warming up straight away. And I think, again, coming back to something you said earlier about like don't feel that different from when you were 13 in terms of the psych levels, it's really obvious. And the other thing I was just going to acknowledge for the people back at home is, I mean, you've got a couple of cameramen, a photographer, you've got us lot, you've got another couple of guys filming you, and yet you're absolutely cool with it. I would have lost my mind, I think. And I just think, like, you seem very, I think the word, intrinsically motivated by it.
Yeah, for sure. But it's that's for the rock climbing.
Yeah.
So I'm intrinsically always motivated for rock climbing. But even within the rock climbing, it's kind of like, it's cool to have a big project, but at a certain point, I'm just sick of it. Whereas like for, you know, climbing a 9A a day, it's always so cool. It's like, for me, that's impossible not to be motivated for like a 9A in a day. Or like a couple of 8B, 8B plus on-sites. There's like, you know, like working on a hard project, it's not like I do it for the enjoyment. Like there are some aspects that I definitely enjoy. But for the sake of enjoyment is like easy sport climbing day with like just enough challenging route that day. That's like my idea of mental rest.
Yeah, big projects aren't always happy, are they? There's like lows, there's even lower bits.
Yeah.
And then when you do it, there's just that weird bit where you're like, what do I do now?
For me, usually, and that's also a reason why I end up always having a bigger project from time to time, is like when it finally happens, I'm always pretty happy. It's not that like sometimes, I recall like a lot of the people telling me like, you know, when I finally sent this, it was kind of like, okay, but that's it. It was kind of anticlimactic. For me, it's like every time it's a little different, but every time I love it, and it's like feels worth it.
So it feels like we talked a bit about the way in which, I mean, you've done every different discipline, but it feels like you do it almost in blocks sometimes. So earlier this year, it felt like you were in a sort of almost bouldering block.
Yeah.
You repeated Sudan Seoul, which looked, I mean, it looks absolutely incredible.
So yes, doing it in blocks is a way how to like make my training efficient, I feel like. And I can still do a bit of everything. Like ideal case scenario for the motivation would be almost like doing every day something different, but it's not the most efficient way if you want to send potentially the hardest boulder or hardest sport climb.
And going back onto that boulder mode, so what mode are you in at present, would you say?
Sport climbing.
Sport mode, yeah. And anything in particular that you've got your eye on at the moment?
So there's still this route in Norway that I'm banging my head against, and it's been a few seasons that I feel like really close, but every season I actually realize, okay, this season I'm even closer, and realizing, okay, maybe the previous seasons I was actually not as close as I thought. Hopefully one day it will happen.
So when it comes to the future of sport climbing, who do you think is going to carry the torch on in terms of the standard? Because there's, you know, again, how do I word this? But there's an aging demographic almost amongst the leading protagonists. It's like the class of 93. 93 was a golden year, because I think, was it you were born then? Was it Alex Magos was born around then? Seb Buen was born around then as well?
Yes,
I think you may all be. And
Stefano
as well, I think is 1993.
Yes,
Fertile year for strong sport climbers. But who's next?
Ah, good question. I think unfortunately in the future it's going to be more specialized in between the disciplines and maybe even styles. For me, Sorato Onraku is like a person that I've never seen a climber in my life, like climbing in such a natural way. And I have no doubt that if he focuses more on the rock in the future, he will absolutely crush. The question is, will he crush and will he enjoy it? So when it comes to the female category, of course, Janja is phenomenon. Unfortunately, no matter how incredible climber she is, and I don't doubt that she will do incredible routes in the future. She's not like a climber mentally, you know. It's not like her best idea of spending her life is here sitting in the dirt of the
in
crag.
a deck chair. Yeah.
She goes to rock climbing because she does so well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? It's where people's motivation lies. I guess, again, going back to young, talented climbers, but I mean, when I first heard of Toby Roberts, for instance, it was when he climbed Revelations age, I think 11.
Yeah.
And that's an 8B just to our left. But again, at what point will he go back to the outdoors? Because it feels like the way you have done it within the era you've operated in is you almost use the comps as like training blocks, as like a sort of part of the process to then build
I think
on.
you can't really do it the same way as I was doing it because the comp style is a bit more specific compared to the rock. But I think still you can combine it way more. But I think the mentality of the comp climbers nowadays is like rock climbing makes you weak and you just can't do it. Unless like it's complete off season.
I'd be willing to be weak if I could climb a 9A a day, I reckon. And is there anyone as well within the sort of present, either circuit, both indoors and out, that inspires you as well, that you've just looked at there, and whether that be through climbing style or whether that be just through attitude, that you've just thought they're cool?
So in terms of climbing style, Sorato Onraku is the style I would love to climb like him.
So natural, yeah.
In terms of attitude, I think I'm very inspired by Seb, for example.
Yeah.
Even though I'm in a different life stage and I can't really do the same way as Seb is doing it. Or like I want to be a proper father.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why my approach has to be slightly different.
I was going to ask you about that because I am biased when I ask this question because I've got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. But how has parenthood, I don't know, changed you?
I think it changed like the planning of my season, but on the other hand, I know and I'm older and it doesn't make sense to like always want to be in the best possible shape 12 months a year, even though it is frustrating. But I know it's like I have to pick like a certain moments of the season when I want to be in the best possible shape, and other than that, maybe be a bit more relaxed and spend the time with the family. And it's sort of like when it comes to training, I know like if I train 2 hours a day, it's enough to be in a decent shape. If I want to do like something at my absolute limit, it's not enough. And like if you only train 2 hours a day, then like your life is so chill and you can spend so much time with your child. And also, you know, the planning of like a climbing trips, like do I bring the family as well? It's surprisingly difficult to find like a family-friendly crags where I have like a project.
I know that you put a post online about just how good Font is quite recently, and that sandstone is the ultimate rock type, which is a sentiment I agree with both of those statements really. But that is kind of like the ultimate family-friendly place. But then I guess like when you're projecting something, you can be up weird times.
It's also like different, So I think that what we want to do in the future right now is like move to Arco for the next winter.
It's not a bad place to be based.
So Hugo can go there into the kindergarten, maybe pick up a bit of Italian, and that's, I think, it's pretty easy to sometimes go climbing with a family, sometimes go alone, and it's, climbing there is a pretty diverse. So until Hugo starts the school, I think that's a good strategy to make. But then, you know, there is the competitions, and then there is the LA, which kind of makes it a little complicated.
these are like nice dilemmas to be presented with, but it's stressful, I guess, for you deciding which.
It's pretty stressful.
And I was going to ask you, about planning, but
like I think the most important dilemma that I have in my mind, like, how motivated am I actually to still compete or not? And surprisingly, I don't really have an honest answer. I just don't know.
Yeah, I guess the thing for you is that you can make that.
Do I feel like I should keep on competing because I really want it, but because I feel like others expect me to do it? I just don't know.
So Adam, this may be a slightly strange question, but what does actually make you different? Like, why is it you're so good? The motivation must be an aspect, but what is it?
I think if I have to pick up only one, it's the motivation.
Because I'm motivated, but I haven't put up a single French 9C rock climb or anything with a 9.
Maybe you're not motivated
enough.
Yeah.
But the motivation is key.
But it's not completely necessary. That's the thing. Like, think of climbing performance as like composition of so many small factors, which of course the macro ones could be the motivation, technique and power. And of course the technique and power you can like just divide into so many different categories, and like the mindset and like how much sacrifice it is to like train and try hard or it isn't. I think I'm the one that doesn't have like a one too obvious weakness.
I have some
special powers, but they might not really be that obvious.
What would be your superpowers?
Some of them are more niche, like, I don't know, knowing how to use my thumbs, drop knees.
Now we're talking.
Maybe knee bars, but I think it's like, it's not like, it's good, but...
Just not the 3-finger drag.
Yeah.
That's let you down all these years.
But then, out of the more, if we exclude the motivation, I think I'm pretty good in using the power that I have, including the superpowers and the weaknesses, and like putting it into like the perfect execution on the rock. So when it comes to technique, I don't think like footwork is my superpower. It's all right. It's not my weakness, but it's not like my superpower. But it's like the change, maybe the pacing. You know, I'm able to climb really fast, even though it might not really look like that I'm rushing.
Yeah.
But like I don't spend on the wall more than 0.1 second more than necessary. When I'm climbing, I'm either resting or climbing. And even when I'm climb on the limit, I'm just like using the right amount of power and the right of muscle groups that I'm using. Still, it really blows me out, especially, for sure my body changed so much since I was 16. Still, it blows me mind what I was actually capable of doing. What I would think nowadays as like a pure power ball prompts or routes, which I can do now as well, but knowing how weak I was when I was 16, it still blows my mind. So climbing is a pretty weird sport in that way. I think right now I'm way heavier. I'm actually way more complex climbers, but there are many parts of climbing, like maybe limestone crimping, where I actually didn't get any better, and I think I'm the same for the last 15 years.
Yeah. I can't resist asking one final question, which is sort of a bookend really, but is, you know, you're in your 30s now. What this climbing for Adam Ondra, what do you think it's going to look like when you're in your, say, when you're in your 70s? Because you're a lifer, you're in this for life. I can't see you hanging your quick draws up anytime soon. But what do you think it'll look like?
Jokingly, I always say, as long as you're climbing 8A, the life makes sense.
I've climbed 8A, it's okay, it's okay.
So I hope I can climb 8A when I'm 70.
Yeah.
it's sort of a grade where like climbing is complex enough that it really gives me this kind of satisfaction.
So you're just
On the other hand, I really enjoy warming up in 6As.
Yeah.
Which I think when I talk to other professional climbers, they're saying, I can't remember a moment I was climbing 6A the last time. And they think like I'm joking, but I'm not. I climb 6As quite often.
I think that's it, but again, it's because you love the movement. It's very much like that holistic climbing experience that I think well, it's just your natural habitat, isn't it?
Yes, and I think overall, like especially when I'm 70 years old, I think I will seek to what I liked the most when I was a little kid, which was like seeing new place and just climbing on site. That's ultimately what I'm pretty sure I will never get bored.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much for joining us.
Welcome.
Adam, it's been amazing. I mean, we're in the presence of greatness. It's like a Buddhist interviewing the Dalai Lama. It's been my honor.
Thank you.